Peace, people. Welcome to the latest episode of Rough Draft. I am your host, Kevin Alberto Sabio, and in this episode, I'll be profiling my fifth book, Demure Nights. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Rough Draft. Thank you for helping me to celebrate Latino Heritage Month. This is actually going to be the last episode in the Celebrating Latino Heritage Month series. As you know, Latino Heritage Month lasts from September 15th to October 15th. But always remember to celebrate your heritage. Always study Latino history and heritage. Always study Black history and heritage. Demure Nights is actually my fifth book release. It is actually my second novel. I released this novel back in 2015. And it actually revolves around the main character, Darius Delgado. He's actually a graphic designer who's currently out of work and unemployed, and he's kind of struggling to be able to make ends meet. The story starts off a day in the life that he goes through. He's basically searching for employment. He's not very happy. He doesn't like being unemployed. He doesn't like having to collect unemployment. He's been constantly trying to look for work, and so either he's not able to find anything in his field or any other jobs that he is able to find, they're not willing to pay him what he feels he is worth, especially with his experience. And so we kind of catch up with him after he spends a day with one of his peoples, a friend of his named Osiris. So Osiris, he's another brother who kind of doesn't like his job either, even though he is employed, but he's working at a job that he absolutely hates. And he doesn't feel like he's living his purpose and his passion. So he kind of tries to encourage Darius to actually follow his dreams since he does have the talent and the connections and not have to struggle so much like he does. And so after a night where they kind of have a little bit of a falling out and disagreement, the next day Darius kind of goes out to clear his head. He goes to a particular diner and he ends up meeting a particular lady, Amina Fortune. So he strikes up a conversation with her. She's a local server, a waitress at the local diner. And so, saying she kind of helps to raise his spirits a little bit. And so as he leaves the diner, he actually sees a particular weekly newspaper. He decides to take the paper and bring it home with him, look through that weekly newspaper, hopefully find some sort of employment up in there. And then once he starts going through the newspaper, he gets to the very back of the paper and he sees a whole bunch of different sex ads. And that kind of surprises him because he's not used to like either reading those type of newspapers or even seeing sex ads. And so he actually kind of gets into a conversation with Osiris. Osiris ends up calling him so that they can kind of squash the little incident that they had the night before. And so he starts kind of talking to Osiris about like these ads, and Osiris is kind of looking at him like, "You didn't know that shit." And so the ads kind of start getting his mind rolling, and he's just like, this is weird. You know what I'm saying? Like he's never been exposed to this world before. He's never been introduced to the sex trade, so he's never, as he says in his own words, he's never had to pay for it before. So why would he need to know this shit? And so with that, he kind of gets intrigued, and he kind of wants to learn a little bit more about it. He tries to do some like research, go to the library, read about it, and he's obviously getting nowhere. So he's like, okay, well, if you want to learn about it, go to a professional. So he actually goes to that paper, finds a particular escort, calls her number, and makes a date. So he actually goes out, meets her, gets to have a little bit of fun with her, and then he kind of asks her about how she got into the business, how does it work, saying the ins and outs of it, saying working for an agency, working for themselves, things like that. And so obviously they have a good time. And then he comes home from that encounter and his mind starts spinning again. And so she's just like, well, obviously if you look through outlets like that weekly newspaper, saying like women have say men have an alternative, like well, what about women, especially professional women? Do they have that same type of outlet? And especially when he was talking about that particular escort, they could actually make a pretty penny off of it. So he decides, well, say if men have an alternative, why don't women? Why don't I be that alternative? And so that's when he becomes demure. He becomes a male escort, and so he works in that particular field. And so the rest of the novel is basically him and his encounters with some of his clients and like what he goes through, some of the trials, some of the tribulations, some of the downs, some of the ups. And I really like this project. Um, it was actually a test because as my fifth book released, my three of my first four books were kind of politically tinged, and I kind of didn't want to get labeled as being some sort of an angry writer. I wanted to do something a little bit different. I wanted to show that I actually had some creative skills, that I could do something that's completely left of what I was doing at the particular time. So I wrote Demure Nights. I wrote an erotic novel. And I have to admit, there were some times when, like, I wrote a particular scene in there. I had to stop writing. I had to get up and take a walk and like, whoo, I'm sweating after writing that. So this was actually a fun project to write. Um, I enjoyed it. I was able to release it. I've gotten a little bit of feedback, positive feedback, especially from the ladies who've actually read this novel. They really like it. They're like, "Ooh, I like your scenes. You're very descriptive." You know what I'm saying? It's like it was just like really, it was an opportunity for me to be creative and just let my mind go. You know what I'm saying? Plus, like any little freaky ideas that I had, like obviously I wrote it in the scenes that I would like to do with a particular lady. And yeah, I will admit it. If you looked at the front cover, yes, that's me. I did the original cover myself. I'm on the front cover, and I had done a version of the back cover that, for whatever reason, when they printed it and you buy the book, um, you won't be able to see the accurate back cover. Very artistic, ain't it? So, I have to admit, this was originally a screenplay. So, uh, the novel version is actually very different from the original screenplay version that I had. Because in the original screenplay play version, he was actually supposed to kind of get caught up with a female escort. But then when I decided to turn it to a novel, I decided to change it and flip it a little bit. I'm like, well, why not tell it from the man's perspective as him being, saying, the service provider instead of the one getting serviced? You know what I'm saying? Just like, and he's very grown and sexy with it. Say he's very classy with it. He's not very crass. I wanted to do something different. I'm like, let me do erotica. Let me do it in a way that I don't want to say I did it right, but I wanted to do it really smooth out, laid back, grown and sexy. Something that say not a romance novel, but say just smooth. You know, um, And I have to admit, part of the influence for me writing Demure Nights was late night Cinemax, or as we called it back in the day, Skinemax. I'm watching all those movies and programs back in the day, and I'm not seeing us in it, and I'm like, why ain't we? You say, why we're not the stars of these? You know what I'm saying? How come you never see us in it? You lucky if you see an Asian chick up in there. You don't even see no sisters and nothing. You don't see no black people. I'm gonna write me something for. And like I said, the book's been out for like the last 5 years. I've actually gotten some those who actually did go out and read it. I've gotten some pretty good feedback from it. Really good feedback. Excellent feedback with my dirty freaky mind. If you want a copy of Demure Nights, it's available in paperback format. You can go to Amazon.com, Barnes and Nobles, Books a Million, and buy the paperback format. It is available in ebook format. Only limited distribution because a lot of places out there don't necessarily distribute erotica. So you could go to Nook, Kobo, iTunes, um, 24 Symbols, Playster, I believe. It's not available in the ebook format for libraries because it's of adult content, so usually you're not able to get it there. But you know what? Thank you for checking me out. Thank you for tuning into this latest edition of the Rough Draft. If you're watching this on YouTube, definitely like, please comment. I'd love to get your feedback. Definitely subscribe to the channel so you get caught up to date with everything I'm doing. Press the notification button. You get to know when I post my latest videos. And so, again, Thank you very much. Keep the fist raised. I'm always on my literary grind. Thank you for helping me to celebrate Latino Heritage Month, and definitely I'll catch you in the next video. Have a good one, y'all. Peace.